Good morning, happy Thursday. I'm so sorry. I went to go push live and I realized my sign at first said home buyer tip when today is a home seller tip. So I had to switch it out really quick. Otherwise my OCD, I'd be thinking about it the whole time. So good morning, happy Thursday. Oh my gosh, it's October and it doesn't feel like fall yet, but I'm excited for holidays and all the things that fall or come with fall and winter and all that. Not so much the cold, but definitely the holidays. Hi Janice, I see you jumped on. How are you guys? Is it snowing there? She's in Kansas, so I want to know if it's snowing there yet. Or if it even is supposed to be snowing there yet. I don't know. We don't deal with that as much here in Texas, so I don't know what the northern states have to deal with as much. But good morning. Thank you guys for jumping on to this week's Bless This Nest. This topic is one that I get asked about quite a bit, so I wanted to make sure that we had a whole episode, series, or video about it, and make sure that I talk to you guys a little more about prepping your home for when you're looking to go sell, or when you're looking to sell, or even if you're just trying to figure out like what updates you should be making along the way that are going to add value to your home. So we're going to talk about all that today. But first, I want to make sure that I do my shout out. So my shout out this week is going to go to my sellers who just closed on their home last week, Michelle and Mark. They closed on their home that they had lived in for 13 years. It was a very emotional transaction, but also very rewarding. They were super happy and just excited for their new chapter in life, but definitely an emotional time. And one of the reasons that I wanted to shout them out is they're kind of part of the reason why I want to bring this topic up to you guys. They were the perfect example of someone a seller that did everything that I suggested, and it really paid off because we had 10 offers on their property and so many compliments about just how well the home showed and how nice it was. And the things that I suggested were nothing crazy. They didn't have to spend a ton of money to do them. But they were just little things that I felt were needed in order to make sure that we got the most for their house and try to get as many offers as possible. So, oh man, no snow yet in Kansas, possibly Tuesday. Oh my gosh, 47 degrees. If it's 74 degrees, which is like, yeah, the reverse of that, I'm cold. So I can't imagine 47 degrees. I think Alexa told me the high was 75 today. And I was like, oh man, I got my sleeves on just in case. So yes, I wanted to shout out, again, Michelle and Mark. So I know you guys watch, or Michelle watches. So thank you guys again for allowing me to be a part of that exciting time. We had a really good conversation at the closing table, just how excited I was for them. And to be a part of that, like that's so huge. And I know that they, had a great experience. They definitely, like I said, had the multiple offers. And so they're just excited that they can start the new chapter in their life. So congratulations again. All right. So like I've already mentioned, today's topic is going to be for sellers mainly, or even if you're a homeowner and you're looking to figure out what updates you need to be doing. So how do you know what updates to make before selling? It's specifically what I'm talking about. So likely you're going to have a few projects that you're going to need to complete prior to putting your home up for sale. And it could be as small as, cleaning, or it could be as big as having to change out, the kitchen countertops. There's all sorts of different things that need to be done, but there's always something. But before you go installing like any kind of major things, before you do change out the granite countertop and add quartz or anything like that, you want to make sure that you consult with someone, have someone that's going to walk through the home with you, give you advice on what you actually should do. Before you go in and spend all this money, you want to make sure that it's going to be well invested, that you're going to get an ROI, which we're going to talk about some more here in a little bit. So I just want to make sure that you keep in mind the things that you need to really focus on and not go and make all these major changes. So home prep is a really huge part of our listing business. Like when we come in and you decide that you're going to work with us, we will spend a lot of time, well, quite a bit of time making sure we're walking through the home with you, giving you suggestions on what you need to do. Again, they could be super small and easy things that need to get done just to make sure that the home looks its best. Or we may be telling you you need to paint some walls, or go ahead and complete an update that you were talking about doing anyways. Again, there's so many reasons why we would tell you to do something and not to do something. We're going to touch a little bit on that today. The very first thing that you want to do when you're talking about getting your home ready to list is you want to check your condition. I am always saying that condition is usually so much more important than updates. If you have a well-loved home and a buyer knows that it's a well-loved home, so they walk in, they can feel that it's well taken care of. Even if the home doesn't have the updates, there's just this sense of like, they know that the home was well cared for, so they're not having to worry about things like that could cost more money, such as the HVAC or the water heater. They know that it was taken care of because they can tell that the condition of everything else in the home is well cared for. So I always say your condition is, usually is so much more important than if you have any updates. So condition is definitely important. So just asking yourself, how is the overall condition of your house? Are there minor touch-ups that you need to be done, such as like torn window screens, doors that need a fresh coat of paint? I can't tell you how many times I have homeowners just give a fresh coat of paint on the door, especially if they have the paint color already. We touch our doors so much that we don't realize. That's a whole nother thing. Sellers don't realize. For example, me, I noticed the other day, and I'm constantly looking at things in our house, and I probably do it more than my husband because I do this for a living. I noticed that our pantry door was starting to kind of just turn, off color. It wasn't like it was brown or dirt, like super dirty or anything like that, but it was just kind of an off color. We've lived in our home for the last 4 years, going on 5, and I've painted when we very first moved in. I haven't painted or done anything else since then. I can't tell you, I probably have never even wiped down my doors necessarily, but they are white doors. So I noticed that our door was starting just to kind of turn a little bit, turn a different color, kind of more on the part where I was probably opening and closing. So little things like that sellers just, they start to like, it becomes part of the house, so they don't even realize it's a thing. So making sure you're kind of taking off I'm going to bring this up at a later time, but just making sure you're taking off your homeowner eyes and putting on some buyer eyes, and just being really critical about your home, because that's something a buyer may notice instantly when they first walk in. I surely do when I walk into other homes. So just a fresh coat of paint on those doors, super easy, super inexpensive, and it can make a huge difference. So that's just an example. Scuffed floors, dirty windows, overgrown landscaping. I went into more detail on just how to maintain your home or little tips and things like that in another episode. But those are just a few things just to kind of, again, take a look at and see what the condition of those things are. And then you are going to want to start cleaning up the basics before you really start digging into the bigger projects. So again, just those basics of paint, fresh coat, touching up, things that if you know there's some paint touch-ups needing to be done around corners, things like that are there. Those are your basics of the things that on a minimum, when I tell my sellers we're getting ready to list their home, that's kind of the minimum of things that I want to do. So making sure you focus on those before really digging into the more expensive things, because you really want to make sure that you're focusing on the cost-effective tasks, which are going to be things like those minor touch-ups. Because like I said, maybe you're just going to need a few coats of paint. It probably, most likely, most of the time, paint is going to fix everything. Or not fix everything, but it's going to make a huge difference. So before I start making suggestions on updating countertops and cabinets and all this stuff, most of the times it's just a paint touch-up. And then again, just make sure you're walking through the home and kind of doing what we do. The very first thing I ask when I walk through, "Hi Michelle, how are you? Oh my goodness, did you guys make it home safely?" Obviously, hopefully you did, since you're messaging me here, but hopefully you guys had a great travel on the way home. And you missed the storm. Kim said that you were trying to beat the storm that was happening. or stay behind it, something like that. So what we do when we very first walk into a door and we have a listing presentation, or we're there to talk to them about listing their home, I ask the buyer or the seller, can I walk through your home by myself? I want to be able to see it kind of from a buyer's eyes, kind of that way they're not pointing things out to me, because we'll get to that later, where if I miss something, I'm going to have them also walk through with me. But I want to be able to see it from a fresh pair of eyes, as if I never walked into your home before, just like a buyer would. So I try to walk through, and I suggest that you guys do kind of the same thing. Start at the front door, walk through the home, and again, take off the home ownership eyes and put on those buyer eyes. And what things are you noticing that need to be taken care of? So that's my my section on condition. The next thing we're going to talk about is checking out the competition. So this is where having an agent who can come in and talk to you a little more about what they're seeing in the market is going to play or is going to be super important, because we know what the competition looks like. We've already checked out other homes in your neighborhood, but we want to make sure that whatever kind of updates you're doing, whatever expenses you're putting into it, you want to make sure you're going to get the most money out of it. And if you are, so what you want to do is make sure that you're seeing the comparables in your neighborhood, to make sure, are you lagging behind on the updates? So all the other houses in the neighborhood are updated and yours isn't. So maybe we do need to do some more updating. Or do you want to, or you, on the reverse, you don't want to over renovate. So if all the houses in the neighborhood aren't renovated, or they don't have, you know, the granite countertops and all the things, you don't want to over renovate, because we still have to stick to what the comparables in the neighborhood are saying and what they're doing. So you just want to make sure that you're checking out the competition. And then you might want to stick to saving some money in areas that are most cost effective, which we're going to get to ROI stuff here in a minute, or ways that you can get the most return on your investment. So again, you just want to make sure you're not outpricing in your own neighborhood. A pool, for example, that's a huge one. A pool, first of all, just throwing it out there, that a pool is one of those that you will never get 100% of your investment on if you decide to put in, except for in the communities where everyone has a pool. And what I mean by that is there are some neighborhoods where if you're the only house or one of the very few that don't have a pool, it could be a better investment for you to add a pool, versus if you're the only neighborhood in the pool, or only home in the neighborhood that's adding a pool to your home. So that's a big, kind of a big example on what kind of renovations to do to add value to your home. And then you'll also want to, of course, find out what's going on in the neighborhood. So consulting again with a real estate agent who can help you know what's going on in the market. Are there any new developments coming around your area? Because new construction makes, it really does affect value. So you have to see what new construction is doing, what pricing they're pricing at, and then what kind of market are we in? Are we in a seller's market or buyer's market? Again, that can make a difference on what kind of suggestions we're going to make when it comes to renovating your home. And of course, you just want to be able to have the inside scoop of what's happening in your area in general, just so you can make that final decision on what to update. All right, the last thing on here is knowing the top ROI projects that you need to do. So which ones are going to give you the most return on your investment? So according to 2019 Remodeling Impact Report, these are the 3 top ROI projects. Number 1 is a new roof. So that gave us a 107% value recovered. New hardwood floors, that was at 106% value recovered. And then refinished hardwood floors, so refinishing any hardwood floors that you have, that's at 100% value recovered. So I'm not saying you need to put in hardwood floors to make sure that you're getting the most value. As you can see, the return on that investment is only up 6% from what it actually costs to put in the hardwood floors. These are just the projects that we know get the most ROI, or what this statistics, the 2019 Remodeling Impact Report was giving us. But this does tell us that if your floors are in rough shape, or if your roof is in rough shape, you want to make sure that those are some important ones that you're tackling in order to get the most return on your investment. And when someone does ask me, you know, what areas should they focus on updating to get the most ROI? And this is mainly for people who they bought their home or they plan to live in their home a little bit longer, and they're just trying to remodel. I also want to point out that when you go to remodel, if you're thinking ROI, of course you want to be able to put in something that A, you're going to enjoy, but B, if your concern is for resale value, making sure that you're sticking to some very neutral things, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But the three places to focus on when it comes to updating your home are your floors, which we just kind of talked about, your kitchen, and bathrooms. So those are the three main areas in a home for you to focus on when it comes to getting the most ROI on your investment. Just so you guys know, updating things such as like your HVAC system or your hot water heater, you know, although those help a lot with the sale of your house, it doesn't necessarily mean that you automatically add value by doing those things. What we see those more of as like a required home maintenance. So if your AC goes out, I mean, you have to replace your AC to even get the home sold most likely. But just because you replace the AC or replace the HVAC, although it's really nice and a buyer may be willing to pay a little bit more, you're not going to get 100% of a return on your investment just because you replace those. Now, it also makes a difference if you are doing a rehab project. So you have a home that everything needs to be done. All of the, you know, the roof, the HVAC, all the systems, all of the house needs to be updated. Your ROI by doing all of those things are going to be different than if you just do one of those things. So I wanted to also make sure you guys understand that I'm not saying that doing all these things to a home is not going to add value to your home. It certainly will if you're doing all of them. But if you are just updating just your HVAC and you're not doing anything else to the house, that doesn't necessarily mean you added value. We see that more as, again, a required home maintenance, not necessarily an upgrade to the house as a whole. And that kind of goes for everything. When a seller asks me, do I need to make updates? Like, we think we're just going to update the countertops and that's it. But you still have, you know, the cabinets aren't painted, you have old appliances, and you have original, you know, hardware, floors, all that is not done. If you just do one part of a renovation, again, that one small part of the renovation and one part of the area of your house is not going to add necessarily as much value as if like you do everything as a whole. So your ROI, your return on your investment on just doing one of those things versus your ROI on doing them all as a whole is totally different too. So I just want to point that out. And another thing to keep in mind is you aren't always going to get 100% of your ROI or 100% return on your investment. So what I mean by that is just because you spend $15,000 to update your kitchen doesn't automatically mean that your home is worth $15,000 more. Again, going back to making sure you're looking at the competition and what's happening in your neighborhood, you want to make sure that you're staying within value and you're not out updating yourself. So make sure that you're checking with a real estate professional. This is where it's really important to have someone come in and tell you or make suggestions on what things they would do that's going to get the most ROI. So I just want to point that out. And then, hi Michelle, I see Michelle, you just jumped on. You'll have to go back and watch this from the beginning because I gave a little shout out to you and Mark. So make sure you go back to the beginning once I'm done. Okay, and then also make sure that you're choosing very neutral updates. So if, again, you're looking at this from a return on your investment or a resale standpoint, you want to make sure that you're not going too custom on your selection. Sometimes going too custom on what your selections are that are maybe to your liking and not to the masses, this can actually sometimes hurt the value of your home. So just keeping in mind that if you're looking for resale or you're getting your home ready to put on the market, you're going more neutral with your selections. And I did talk about this a little bit more in another episode, but one of the tips I gave then was that you can go to model homes and see what kind of things that they're doing. Usually model homes they're constantly updating their decor and their features and everything like that, their selections, to make sure that they are attracting the masses for their buyers. Hi, Michelle. And I saw Michelle. I've got two Michelles here. I love it. So Michelle, let's see. Oh, you said it was a good trip and beautiful fall color in the mountains. Great points today. Those little details are so noticeable. Yes, to the fresh eyes. Yes, especially if you're like me and super detailed, you point out all the little things. So thank you for the feedback. Where was I? So yes, just making sure you're going to one of the tips is you can go to model homes and see, what they're doing, because of course, again, they're trying to draw to the masses when it comes to the designs. And lastly, you want to be able to always weigh the cost of the workload versus the payoff. So if you are trying to get your house on the market sooner than later, redoing all the flooring may not be worth the time and the hassle. So just keep that in mind. And in case you might want to just focus, in that case, you may just want to focus on some smaller cosmetics. So like I mentioned at the beginning, painting, things that need holes in the walls, things like that are more cosmetic than total remodels. So there you have it. That's all my tips that I give to my sellers. That's kind of my generic tip that I give to all my sellers when it comes to getting their home ready to put on the market, or what updates to make and what they need to do or not do before making that decision to put their house on the market. So hopefully you guys learned something. And also, if you guys I have previous clients and just random homeowners reach out to me all the time, and they'll ask me, and by all means, I'm not a professional designer, but I do know what is very common when it comes to what I see, what looks good, what buyers are attracted to, what the new trends are. So if you are trying to make any kind of remodels or decision on some things that you want to do for your future ROI on your home or anything like that, always feel free to send us a message, and I'm happy to answer those for you. Just send me some photos, show me what you currently have, what you're thinking, if you have some selections. I have people ask me that kind of question all the time. Again, I cannot tell you probably like what is going to go well together, but I can say, yes, this as a whole is going to add some value to your home. So feel free to always message me those. And then last thing I want to tell you guys, make sure you mark your calendars for next Thursday. So next Thursday for Bless This Nest, 11 a.m. on Thursday, we have, Modern Nest has a huge announcement that I am so excited about. I want to share with you guys like right now, but I'm going to keep quiet. And so all I'm going to say is we have a huge announcement. So make sure you set your calendars, join us or join me. And I shouldn't say anymore. I'm going to give it away. So just join us, and we will have a huge announcement. So I'm super excited. Anyways, I hope you guys have an awesome Thursday. Have an awesome weekend. And again, if there's anything else I can do for y'all, please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, I'll talk to y'all soon.